Well, they still don't know what to call you. That's the funniest part. They've collected every scrap of footage, every stray moment, every unpredictable shift in your expression, every unexplained pattern in the way people respond to you. And after all their little meetings, all their whispered theories, all their late-night discussions conducted in rooms packed with anxiety, they still sit there staring at your file like it's written in a language they were never taught. They thought identifying you would be simple, a label, a personality type, a profile. But you slipped past every single one of their categories like a shadow that refuses to stay in one place. You think they're confused because you're complicated, but that's not the reason. They're confused because you don't follow the script they expect people to follow. You don't move the way they predict. You don't react the way they project. You don't collapse under pressure the way they assume most do when watched, tracked, analyzed. Instead, you get sharper, more calculated, more impossible to decode. And now they're sitting with an entire cabinet dedicated to you. Not for crimes, not for chaos, not for threats, but for your presence, your energy, your behavior that doesn't match anything they've documented. They have a habit of studying what they fear, collecting it, organizing it, trying to make it small by putting it in a folder. But no matter how many pages they add, your presence spills out of the margins like ink they can't control. They thought documenting you would make you predictable. It made you larger. They've marked moments where you didn't respond the usual human way, times when you didn't seek approval, when you didn't shrink yourself to fit the room, when you didn't bend under pressure. Those moments confuse them the most. They're accustomed to people cracking, folding, justifying themselves, people who reveal everything under the slightest tension. But you're the outlier, the quiet variable that doesn't panic, doesn't break, doesn't reveal. You operate on instinct sharpened by experience, perception elevated by betrayal, awareness shaped by being underestimated too many times. And the more they look, the more they realize your strength didn't come from perfection. It came from surviving what should have destroyed you. That's when they started the file. The first page had nothing but a timestamp and a sentence. Observation. Individual maintains unusual composure in conditions that create distress in others. They thought that would be the end. A few notes, a short entry, a curiosity. But then someone else noticed something, and someone else added another detail, and another. Before long, your energy became a topic that passed through different hands, different departments, different corners of their organization. Some thought you were a threat. Some thought you were a phenomenon. Some thought you were a psychological puzzle. But the ones who genuinely paid attention realized something deeper. You weren't trying to impress anyone, yet people gravitated toward you anyway. You weren't trying to intimidate anyone, yet the ones with fragile egos felt exposed in your presence. You weren't trying to manipulate anyone, yet they reacted to you like you were 3 moves ahead without ever saying a word. You know why they can't decode you? Because you don't broadcast what you're thinking. You don't overshare. You don't rush to fill the air with explanations. Most people talk to relieve their anxiety. You let silence breathe because you're not scared of your own thoughts. And that unsettles them more than anything else in their entire folder. They've underlined that trait in red, circled it, highlighted it. They call it controlled unpredictability, a term that means absolutely nothing but makes them feel better about not understanding you. They're trying to build a narrative, but they can't build something out of pieces that don't fit. You're the kind of person whose past doesn't define them, whose future doesn't restrict them, whose presence doesn't follow tradition. You rebuild yourself without announcing it, upgrade your mind without telling anyone, move differently without showing your blueprint. That terrifies them in ways they don't admit out loud. And the deeper they dig, the more uncomfortable they become. They can't find your weaknesses. They can't find your pressure points. They can't find what breaks you. Because the things that would break most people have already happened to you. And instead of folding, you adapted. You sharpened your instincts. You learned how people operate. You learned the weight of observation. You learned the power of staying unpredictable. They can't track your motives because you don't follow the motives they're used to seeing. You don't chase validation. You don't chase approval. You don't chase permission. You move when it's right, stop when it's needed, disappear when it's strategic. And every time you do something unexpected, their notes expand, their theories stretch thinner, and their confusion grows louder. They've measured your reactions in moments most people crumble. They've studied how you detach without losing awareness, how you disengage without appearing weak, how you walk away without leaving a trace of desperation behind. You have this unnerving ability to hold your ground without raising your voice, without trying too hard, without proving anything. They call this non-standard behavioral resilience, another pointless term meant to cover their bewilderment. But that isn't what they fear the most. What really rattles them is the way other people respond to you, the way your energy shifts a room, the way even your quiet presence changes dynamics, the way people who dislike you still can't ignore you, the way people who envy you still observe you, the way people who misunderstand you still feel drawn to track your movements. They have pages documenting how much influence you have without trying. They track who watches you, who imitates your choices, who adjusts their tone around you, who behaves differently when you walk in. They're trying to understand the source, but there is no simple explanation. You grew this presence from every betrayal that cut too deep, every lesson you learned alone. Every night you rebuilt yourself without help. Your edge was carved from endurance, not arrogance. Your composure was shaped from survival, not privilege. And your unpredictability was born from navigating environments where revealing too much was dangerous. You became unreadable because being readable once cost you too much. They don't know that part. But they feel it. They feel it in every documented moment where you changed the tone of a conversation by simply existing. They feel it in every pattern they can't replicate. They feel it in every prediction you break without effort. They feel it in every identity you refuse to be boxed into. They feel it when people talk about you with confusion, when people follow your lead unintentionally, when friends and enemies alike react to you with the same level of alertness. They feel it when you don't respond for days, and no one knows whether to be concerned or intimidated. They feel it when you answer calmly in situations where everyone else spirals. They feel it when you don't give explanations like everyone else does. They feel it when you speak with clarity that doesn't ask for permission. And as the file grows, so do the contradictions. One page calls you highly analytical. Another calls you instinct-driven. One labels you controlled. Another labels you unbound. One describes you as emotionally contained. Another describes you as deeply perceptive. They can't match the traits because they don't understand, How someone can be both aware and detached, both observant and unbothered, both grounded and unpredictable. They want to track your identity like a timeline, but you're not a timeline. You're a pattern breaker, a rule bender, a shapeshifter who doesn't shapeshift for show, but for strategy. You don't reveal your thoughts in a single direction. You reveal them through choices that make sense only when you have the full picture, a picture they don't have. They get fragments, pieces, shadows, adjustments. They get the moments you choose to reveal, not the ones you conceal. They get your exterior, not your architecture. They get your reflection, not your core. And that's why they added the final label to the top of your newest page. Case number 777, Unresolved Behavioral Profile. Unresolved. Not because you're confusing, because you're uncontained, because you don't shrink to fit into their pages, because you outgrow their theories faster than they can write them, because you've mastered the art of moving without announcement, because you've learned to protect your center in a world that tries to dissect anything that stands out, because you refuse to be the predictable character they keep trying to turn you into. And they can't stand that, not even a little. But here's the part they didn't expect. The more they watch you, the more predictable they become. They reveal their intentions by studying yours. They expose their fears by documenting your strength. They show their weaknesses by trying to analyze your growth. They don't realize that every page they write about you says more about their limitations than your identity. They don't realize you've already noticed the cracks in their evaluations. They don't realize you can feel the weight of their attention before they even open their mouths. They don't realize their confusion feeds your clarity. And now, just when they think they've reached the final chapter of their file, something else begins unfolding in you. Something they cannot record, cannot categorize, cannot follow. A shift they can feel but can't define. A transition they sense but can't capture. A new version of you forming just beneath the surface, waiting for the perfect moment to step forward. A change they know is coming but have no method of predicting. Something that renders their entire folder obsolete before they even understand what they missed. Something that makes their confusion collapse into something far more uncomfortable. Something they aren't ready for, because the deeper they dig, the more they realize the person they're trying to decode no longer exists in the form they first documented. You've evolved during their investigation, shifting beyond the data they built their assumptions on, slipping into a new mental lane that their outdated notes can't track. They're studying a past version of you, while the current one moves with precision they didn't account for. And that's why the air around their conference table has changed. Their discussions have shifted from curiosity to concern, from questions to uneasiness, from analysis to something bordering on alertness. The thing they feared the most has already happened. You've become someone they cannot anticipate. Their models fail. Their predictions fall apart. Their assumptions collapse under the weight of your transformation. They've watched people for decades, manipulators, masterminds, narcissists, victims, leaders, strategists, yet none of their previous cases behave even remotely like you. The more they watch, the more they realize you're not operating from a place they're familiar with. You've grown past the emotional triggers most people cling to. You've detached from the validations that steered the majority. You've stepped out of the predictable loop of reactions that shape the patterns they rely on. And the moment they sense this, their file on you doesn't look like an analysis anymore. It looks like a warning. Page after page is filled with small admissions of confusion. Individual displays, rapid psychological upgrading. Motivations remain unclear despite extended observation. Behavioral route diverges from all known trajectories. And the ones reading these notes don't speak it out loud, but they feel the tension. They feel the discomfort of trying to study someone who no longer behaves within the boundaries they expect. You've reached a point where your identity isn't just unpredictable, it's untraceable. You move with purpose that isn't external, but internal. You operate from clarity, shaped by experience, not ego. You navigate through chaos without being influenced by it. And that's what rattles them most. They can't understand how someone who has lived through so much still stands with such grounded composure, such sharp discipline, such heightened awareness. They've documented your ability to eliminate unnecessary emotional noise. They've highlighted your capacity to detach without disconnecting. They've noted the way you observe everything, but reveal nothing. But now, in this unfolding shift, they're starting to see something else, something far more unsettling. They're witnessing a version of you that isn't just unreadable, but untouchable. The version of you that survived the worst chapters without announcing your pain. The version that rebuilt yourself quietly, without seeking an audience. The version that navigated betrayal without losing your internal compass. The version that learned to sharpen your instincts instead of dulling your edge. And the version that doesn't owe anyone a single explanation. They're watching someone who has taken every scar, every disappointment, every betrayal, every shattered expectation, and forged it into an internal armor that reflects nothing outwardly. They're documenting someone who grew through pressure instead of breaking under it. Someone who isn't motivated by revenge or recognition, but by evolution. Someone who doesn't chase closure because you learned how to thrive without it. Someone who doesn't seek validation because you built your own sense of worth. Someone who doesn't cling to the past because you outgrew it, long before they started investigating you. This is where their discomfort deepens. They flip through the pages of your file, noticing the contradictions they themselves have created. They've labeled you grounded but unpredictable, calm but intense, reserved but magnetic, detached but perceptive. And the more they highlight these traits, the more obvious it becomes that you operate from a depth they aren't equipped to measure. You're the kind of person whose silence says more than others' paragraphs, whose presence says more than others' performances, whose actions speak in ways they can't translate. Your unpredictability isn't recklessness, it's strategy. Your calmness isn't passivity, it's control. Your detachment isn't avoidance, it's clarity. But the most unsettling part for them is something they didn't expect at all. The influence you have on people around you. That part wasn't supposed to be measurable, yet it keeps showing up in their data. They've recorded how people shift when you enter a room, how individuals watch you without realizing they're doing it, how egos shrink in your presence, how insecure individuals react defensively even when you're not speaking, how people with power become cautious when you express yourself with clarity. They've documented how others mirror your tone, adjust their posture, change their behavior, hesitate before speaking, or choose their words carefully around you. They've seen how people either feel protected by you or intimidated by you, with very little middle ground. This influence you carry didn't come from trying to impress anyone. It came from the way you move, direct, thoughtful, observant, internally anchored. It came from the way your mind processes situations without emotional distortion. It came from the way you respond to pressure without breaking your rhythm. It came from the way you maintain composure even when the environment is unstable. They see the effect you have, but they don't understand the source. And that ignorance frustrates them more than anything else in that crowded file drawer they've labeled Case Number 777. They've tried to track your patterns. They've tried to map your decisions. They've tried to decode your motives. But nothing aligns, nothing repeats, nothing loops. Because you don't live in cycles, you live in progression. Every time they think they've finally grasped your nature, you evolve past the version they studied. Every time they think they've identified your triggers, you neutralize them before they can weaponize them. Every time they assume you'll act from emotion, you operate from insight instead. And when they expect you to react impulsively, you respond with precision that shuts down their theories entirely. The growing frustration within their team is almost visible in their documents. They add more pages, more observations, more predictions, and every one of them falls apart within days. They don't realize that the reason you're unreadable is because you don't live reactively. You live intentionally. You don't let external noise dictate your path. You don't bend under pressure. You don't allow yourself to be reduced to anyone's expectation. You built your identity slowly, intentionally, privately, without seeking applause. And the final version of you, the one they're now trying to decode, isn't someone who craves understanding. You've outgrown the need to be understood. This is where the file becomes less of an investigation and more of a mirror they're afraid to look into. Because when they study you, they're forced to confront their own limitations. They're forced to confront how predictable most people are, how easy it is to influence them, manipulate them, track them, and how difficult it is to influence you in any direction. You aren't controlled by reward or fear. You aren't motivated by attention. You aren't swayed by pressure. You make decisions from clarity that they cannot replicate in their controlled environments. And that's what's driving them deeper into confusion. Every time they watch you remain centered when others fall apart, they add another note. Every time you observe without reacting emotionally, they underline another line. Every time you choose your words with precision that leaves no room for misinterpretation, they highlight your communication pattern. Every time you walk away without losing your posture, they add another paragraph. They're documenting a person who doesn't fit into any psychological model they've built. You're not driven by ego, yet you don't shrink. You're not driven by fear, yet you stay alert. You're not driven by approval, yet people want your approval. You're not driven by chaos, yet you move freely through unpredictable environments. And then there's the part they don't know how to label: your presence. The unexplainable thing about you. The quiet weight you carry that seems to make the air shift. They've written paragraphs trying to name it: intensity, projection, force, influence. But none of these terms capture the truth. Your presence didn't come from trying to be powerful. It came from learning to live through things that would break most people. It came from learning to understand intentions without taking them personally. It came from recognizing behavior patterns without allowing them to rule you. It came from mastering emotional intelligence without letting emotions cloud your judgment. And when someone stands in that level of alignment with themselves, that alignment radiates outward. This is why their investigation is collapsing. They're looking at someone who has learned to move from internal stability, not external reactions. Someone who learned to think clearly in moments others panic. Someone who learned to listen instead of revealing everything. Someone who learned to watch people's motives without giving away your own. Someone who learned how to stay grounded while others rush. Someone who learned to carry themselves like they already know who they are, without needing permission from the world. And now the shift they sensed at the end of part 1 is becoming undeniable. You're stepping into a new phase mentally, emotionally, energetically. A phase where your clarity outweighs their confusion, where your intentions run deeper than their theories, where your progression moves faster than their observations. They feel the shift, but cannot name it. They see the signs, but cannot translate them. They sense the elevation, but cannot measure it. Their file is full, but their understanding is empty. And as you step into this next version of yourself, the one built from observation, resilience, self-control, and evolution, something remarkable begins to unfold. You're not just unreadable anymore. You're unreachable. Beyond their psychological reach, beyond their emotional map, beyond their analytical framework. They're watching someone who refuses to be defined by external analysis, someone who refuses to be limited by anyone's expectations, someone who has upgraded to a version of themselves that cannot be recorded or contained. And as this transformation solidifies, they realize something far more unsettling. Their file on you may never be complete. Their theories may never align. Their conclusions may never match the truth. Because the person they're studying isn't done evolving. The person they're trying to decode is already moving toward the next shift, the next breakthrough, the next inner expansion. And just when they begin to accept that you're beyond their understanding, something else begins forming around you. Something they didn't plan to encounter. Something even further outside their control. And the funniest part, the part that twists their stomach harder than any mystery they've tried to decode, is that the deeper they dig into your file, the more they realize the case isn't expanding because you're complicated, but because you're evolving faster than their paperwork can follow. See, bureau minds love categories, love labels, love neat little boxes with predictable patterns inside. But you're a living anomaly, a self-updating riddle, a frequency that refuses to sit still long enough for a single definition to attach. And the moment they think they've cornered the truth, just a moment, just a breath, something shifts inside you again, something mutates, something refines itself, and suddenly they're back at page 1, staring at the same question in bold red ink. What is this person? Oh, and that is where the panic sets in. Because once an investigator realizes the subject is learning faster than the investigation, the case ceases to be a file. It becomes a threat. A quiet threat. An elegant one. The kind that doesn't roar, doesn't scream, doesn't announce itself. The kind that simply changes, and by changing, breaks every map drawn to contain it. You know what really rattles them? It's not the things they found in the file. It's the things they didn't. The blank spaces, the gaps, the strange patterns they can't name. They pull up your emotional records, nothing matches. They analyze your habits, nothing aligns. They compare your reactions to thousands of psychological profiles. No consistent category. One agent calls you an empath. Another calls you a strategist. Another calls you a wanderer. Another calls you a visionary. Another thinks you're a storm in slow motion. Another thinks you're a ghost with attachment issues. They argue across the conference table because the data refuses to agree with itself. And you know data, cold, hard, objective, turning into a contradiction. That's when fear creeps in. The fear that maybe, just maybe, they are not dealing with a typical human timeline. Maybe they are watching the evolution of someone who outgrows their own analysis in real time. And as this realization strikes deeper, they start rewriting your file. Not because they've figured anything out, but because they're trying to keep up with the pacing of your inner world. They notice the shifts in your decisions, the changes in your energy, the sudden jumps in your awareness, the unpredictable expansions of your vibe. They note the days you pull back into silence, not out of fear, but out of recalibration. They note the days you rise with an intensity that doesn't match the environment, as if you're tapping into something invisible, something they cannot track. They note the moment when your presence begins to distort their expectations, bending situations in ways no psychological prediction model can account for. They note the strange phenomenon that people either move toward you with reverence or away from you with discomfort, no in between. They note the rare instances when you speak, and everyone listens without understanding why. They note the times you say nothing, and people still feel influenced, pressured, shifted. And they ask themselves, how does someone do that without trying? Without force? Without manipulation? They want a formula, a mechanism, a blueprint. But there is none. Just a person who outgrew every map built to define them. And now this new formation outside their control. This atmosphere developing around you like a silent storm front. This expanding energy field that no instrument can record. This is the part that terrifies them most. Because when someone's internal evolution becomes so vast, it starts to bend their external reality. When someone's presence alone can alter dynamics without a word. When someone begins shifting from being a subject of observation to a variable that influences the observers themselves. The case becomes unsolvable. It becomes classified, high-level, restricted access, need-to-know basis. Your file moves from the rookie analyst's desk to a dimly lit room where senior agents argue about what to call you. Not who you are, not what you did, but what to call you. Because names carry power, and they don't know what name fits a person who keeps outgrowing language. And the more they watch you, the more they realize your unpredictability isn't chaos. It's precision disguised as chaos. It's intention wrapped in spontaneity. It's consciousness that refuses stagnation. They begin connecting dots that don't belong to any known diagram. Subject exhibits awareness beyond observable input. Subject adapts before stimuli occur. Subject expresses intuition that precedes logic but later aligns with it. Their notes begin sounding less like an FBI report and more like a study of quantum behavior. Every time they observe you, you behave differently because you're being observed. You break their patterns simply by existing near them. And the agents, oh, they hate that. They hate that their job is to understand you. But the moment they think they do, you slip into a new version of yourself. It's like chasing smoke with a ruler, like trying to solve a maze that rearranges itself every time you take a step. And somewhere deep in their panic-filled analysis, they realize something undeniable. You are not unpredictable because you are inconsistent. You are unpredictable because you are unlimited. They flip through page after page, image after image, observation after observation, but nothing adds up because every part of you contradicts the last. in the best possible way. You are resilience wrapped in softness. You are kindness with boundaries sharp enough to draw blood. You are calm until the moment you become an uncontainable force. You are patient, yet capable of striking without hesitation. You are observant, yet impossible to predict. You are gentle with those who deserve it, ruthless with those who don't. You are healing and war, intuition and logic, grounded and untethered. And they realize that, yes, there's a reason they can't figure you out. You aren't a puzzle meant to be solved. You're a reality meant to be experienced. And they don't have the emotional or psychological equipment for that. And now, here's where the fear evolves into something grander, something deeper, something more spiritual. Because as they track your movements, your decisions, your sudden leaps in self-awareness, they begin noticing synchronicities around you. Opportunities that appear too perfectly timed. People who show up at the exact moment they're needed. Close calls that turn into breakthroughs. Losses that transform into luck. And they whisper among themselves, is someone helping them? Is something guiding them? Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit probability models. But they see it, they document it. They try to give it names like high intuition, or pattern recognition, or enhanced consciousness. Because they're afraid to say what they're really thinking. Maybe the universe is on this person's side. And once they whisper that possibility, the entire tone of the investigation shifts from psychological to existential. Now suddenly, you're not just an unsolved case. You're a phenomenon, a moving anomaly. A reminder that human potential doesn't have a ceiling. A reminder that some people tap into something beyond rational explanation. And in their attempt to understand you, they accidentally elevate you. Because now they're convinced you have access to something unseen, something they can't file under cause and effect. And that terrifies them far more than any unpredictable behavior. They start watching the people around you, trying to understand how your presence alters them. They notice how some crumble under the weight of your truth, how some blossom in your energy, how some cling to you hoping you'll reveal the blueprint of your growth. They notice how people who once underestimated you suddenly behave as if they've discovered a pressure they cannot withstand. They notice how your silence becomes louder than your voice. They notice how your absence leaves a gravitational void. They notice how your presence reorganizes entire social dynamics. And they write in your file, subject appears to influence environments without direct action, which is their sterile scientific way of saying, you walk into a room and reality adjusts. And that's when the agents stop seeing you as a case and start seeing themselves as the ones being studied. They start questioning their own reactions to you, noticing their own tension, their own unease, their own fascination. They catch themselves leaning in, trying to understand why they can't predict your next move. They catch themselves overthinking their own notes. They catch themselves rewriting analysis because something in their gut feels wrong. And that's when they realize they are no longer in control of the investigation. You are. You've become their mirror, their measurement tool, their template for unfamiliar possibility. And nothing terrifies a system more than a person who can't be measured, categorized, or replicated. Because systems depend on predictability, and you are living proof that transformation doesn't require permission, validation, or explanation. You evolve on your own timeline. You shift on instinct. You rise without announcement. And every time they try to capture the essence of you, they end up documenting a past version you've already outgrown. But this new thing forming around you, this is the part that cements your status as unsolved case number 777. Because it's no longer just internal evolution, it's external manifestation. It's the reality around you rearranging itself to match the person you're becoming. It's the opportunities aligning, the wrong people exiting, the right people appearing, the breakthroughs accelerating, the clarity sharpening, the boundaries solidifying, the power stabilizing, the vision expanding, the intuition hitting with surgical precision. It's the unmistakable shift from being the subject of the world to being the architect of your role within it. And they see it. They feel it. They write it down in shaking hands. Subject entering a phase of expansion beyond measurable scope. That's their polite way of admitting defeat. Because once someone reaches the stage where their inner world begins sculpting their outer world, the investigation ends. There's nothing left to analyze, nothing left to decode, nothing left to predict. All that's left is acknowledgment, silent, reluctant, uneasy's acknowledgment. And that's when your file gets the stamp. Unsolved case number 777. Not because you're a mystery, not because you're a threat, not because you're too complicated, but because you exceeded the limits of their understanding. And you did it by simply being you. And now, as the final note in the report, they write the only conclusion that has ever truly fit you. Subject, it is not to be contained. Subject is not to be defined. Subject operates beyond classification. Congratulations. They built an entire file on your vibes and still couldn't figure you out. You didn't confuse them. You outgrew them.